機が登場だ。行けソウルバーガー。任せろバーニングドロー。転生リンク召喚。
What's up, B2? Capital G here, aka the Salamanprophecies, and ladies and gentlemen, just as I predicted and I have been saying for the last 6 weeks on this channel, it has officially begun. Salamangreats are now looking like one of the best decks in the entire OCG. There was a tournament over the weekend, about 120 players. They were playing under the new OCG ban list, which officially starts January 1st, 2019. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but look what the most popular deck at the entire event was. Could it be that deck that Cap G has been saying for the last 6 weeks will be meta? Could it be the deck that Cap G and only Cap G, when it comes to TCG Yugi tubers, has been propping up, has been saying this deck will be a top 5 deck in the TCG? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the OCG players have either been watching me or they've been testing like I have over the last couple of months, and they know the deal. Salamangreats look like they are going to be incredibly popular, and this wasn't just the case of a deck being very popular right out the gate. It actually had the most spots in the top 8. Now, this was a tournament that took place over the weekend. It was about 120 players. For those of you who don't know, the OCG, they don't have a real YCS circuit, so you're not going to get events that are going to be, 17, 1800 players like we see in Europe and North America, Latin America, Oceania, etc., etc. You're really just going to see smaller tournaments that are anywhere from 120 to maybe 300 at the tops, and that's probably for a really large like team tournament, and these basically kind of make up their meta. Now they have these kind of weekly, and they're basically, I guess, the equivalent to like regionals and whatnot. And when you look at this bracket, this deck was incredibly popular. And I predicted this. I knew Salamangreats because I've been playing this deck exclusively. I haven't really played anything else in the last 6 weeks because nothing really interests me. Even my Ultra Guys, I told you guys, I kind of pulled back on Ultra Guys when all the fucking normies started liking the deck. But Salamangreats are doing incredibly good coming out the gates. Now, when I look at some of these builds, they are different than what you guys have probably seen from my build. One of the things that I noticed is some of the players aren't actually running Fusion of Fire, which I mean, personally, I love Fusion of Fire. I have said in my videos, you don't ever want to run more than one Fusion of Fire because technically it is a brick. Like, it's a card that you don't want in your opening hand, and you don't really ever want to draw this card. You really just kind of want to send it to the graveyard with Gazelle and then add it back to your hand with Sunlight Wolf when you're going for the cheese plays. It's a linear card, but for what it does, it generally, like, when you resolve it, you should win the duel. I don't think I would take it out of my deck. I mean, yeah, it's a brick, but you sometimes just got to deal with it because the games where you pull it off, you do just win the game. So I don't think I would do that, but it is kind of interesting to see some of them not even run it, thus you don't need to run Violet Chimera. One thing I also noticed is they are really kind of slim when it comes to the pure Salaman monsters. Now, I knew that there are kind of bricky cards like Falco and Jack Jaguar that you just have to run in the deck. You have to run them. They're kind of mandatory. I've also said the magic number is always 3 in Salamangreats. That's why you do want to max out on Spinny. You want to max out on Gazelle. I personally like to run 2 copies of Foxy, but if you're running 3, I understand it. I find it to be, sometimes if you open with Lady the Bug and Foxy, it's a little weird, so I run the lineup like this where I'm only running 2 Foxy. But the reason that I think that Salamangreats are really explosive in the OCG, probably even more than the TCG, is they've got something called Speedroid Terratops, and this card is not limited in the OCG. And if you guys don't know, all of these level 3 monsters, even technically the hand trap like Ash Blossom, these cards let you go into your MX Saber Invoker. Anytime an archetype gets a fucking MX Saber Invoker, you're going to abuse this card. You make this card every single turn 1 basically that you can. It pulls out any card or any monster in your entire archetype. You are locked into the fire attribute, which kind of sucks. If it wasn't, like, if it didn't lock you in, the card would be broken. Like, there'd be so many duels where you go on the Boros Dragon, but you just generally don't want to do that. But it is interesting that they're playing a full-on kind of Terratop package in this deck, and this does allow you to get to Mirage Stallion without using your normal summon. And best of all, if somebody does Ash Blossom your Terratop, it's not that big of a problem because then you can just normal summon like Spinny. You can just go into it, with the basic Exceed. If you got Foxy, even better because you get a +1. I did notice that basically all of these builds are running 3 copies of Called by the Grave. I think that's because of Maxi. I feel like that's just really the Maxi effect, if you guys don't know. And granted, I have never played against Maxi because I only play TCG banless duels. It's just kind of obvious. You guys remember Maxi of a couple of years ago. know how dominant that card was, how sometimes if you wanted to special summon and your opponent max siege you, obviously Called by the Grave was not a thing then, you basically had to stop. In the OCG, they're combating that with Called by the Grave, but I would imagine it's kind of the same thing. If you go for a special summon, maybe Gazelle, and your opponent max sees, you might as well just stop with Salamangreat, because this deck not only has to link climb, but it also reincarnation links at least once during most turns, so you're going to just give your opponent a mess of cards. Now, if you're running Fusion of Fire and you're going second, then, I mean, you could just go for the fucking Violet Chimera cheese, which that's what I would do, because fuck it, I feel like going for it is just better than stopping or, you know, giving them a billion. Like, honestly, that third option is the most attractive when it comes to the archetype. Now, one of the other things that I thought was kind of weird is that a lot of their builds are not running Transcode Talker plus Update Jammer, which, I mean, this is a 2-card LTK. I've shown you guys many times. Transcode Talker is really good. It pulls back the Update Jammer. Update Jammer allows this guy to attack twice. It's exactly, or it's 8100 damage, so it does clear your opponent out. Plus, Transcode Talker is insanely good against Altergeist and Sky Striker. It's really the reason why the Sky Striker matchup is kind of free. You make Transcode Talker, you pull your Sunlight Wolf back from the graveyard. The two are co-linked, so that they both gain 500 attack, and then your opponent can't target either one of them with effects. It means no Widow Anchor, it means no Afterburner, it means no Milu Seek. It also means no Sequidius. So basically, like Altergeist and Sky Striker, they can't kill your monsters. They can't Impermanence. They can't use basically any of their targeting traps. All you have to do is just keep attacking. They can't take your monsters at that point, and you basically win. I guess my thought process is that those two matchups got nerfed so hard on the ban list that maybe they didn't think that they were going to be prominent, which is interesting. We are still seeing, though, Altergeist they're doing pretty good. I predicted Altergeist would not fall off like Sky Strikers. I said that Sky Strikers were gonna fall off the fucking planet, and even if you look at this pie chart, it's like, can you even find the Sky Striker? Like, can you find Sky Strikers here? Like, I think that the nerf to Kagari was too hard. I said that in my banlist OCG video. I don't even think it's a deck anymore. Some people were saying you could recycle Kagari. Again, I don't honestly think it's worth it, but Altergeist, because really, not only do they have 3 Milu Seeks and 2 personal spoofing, so they can still get to your multi-faker, they have Pot of Indulgence out of Savage Strike, so I think that basically just kind of took up, you know, the extra burden of not being able to really draw into multi-faker reliably. So I think Altergeist will still be in a good position. It did make top 8. One of the decks I found the most intriguing at this event, and I so want this deck to come to the TCG, it just kind of, it's all revolving around one card, is Subterrors. If you guys don't know, Subterrors are a real deck in the OCG, mainly because, well, no, it's not mainly. It's entirely because of Subterror Guru. Now, we don't actually have this card in the TCG. I don't know why. Konami has been dragging their feet. We got this new shitty Link Monster, which, if you look at his extra deck, he doesn't even run because the Subterror Link Monster is terrible. But Subterror is a real deck. Like, they have not only that they have basically Fiendish. She's kind of like an Infernity Barrier from the hand, which is kind of nice. But the deck can super control. It can Book of Moon monsters with your Guru. That's a quick effect. And this was so sick. He's running 2 copies, not 1, 2 copies of Super Polymerization in his main deck. Now, if you guys don't know, obviously Super Polymerization is a card you technically can run in Salamangreats for an extra attack in the battle phase. It's kind of bricky like Fusion of Fire, so I don't run it, but it's something you can run. However, this card is super good against Salamangreats and against Thunder Dragons, so this could be a viable option. If you're playing a deck in the TCG that you don't really care about your extra deck, because as you see, Subterrors is one where they don't even run their own Link Monster. It's basically just 15 spots. You can technically use this against Salamangreats, though even when they end with the Infernity Barrier sets, it doesn't matter, because once you super poly, they can't respond. You can use the Sunlight Wolf and their Mirage Stallion. You steal both of their monsters. You make your own Violet Chimera, and then your own Violet Chimera is pumped up with extra attack. So it's actually kind of cool. Not only do you get a big boss monster, but you get rid of your opponent's field. And the same thing can be said about the Thunder Dragon matchup. Thunder Dragons do the same thing. They'll make turn 1 multiple Colossus, maybe Colossus Titan. Use Super Polymerization, their monsters away. There's nothing that they can do. There's no protection or anything that can stop this. And then you make your own. So I thought that this was one of the coolest techs. But the OCG obviously is a different ballgame. You guys see things like Feather Duster in every deck. You see freaking Kaiser Coliseum down here, which is like, whoa. I haven't seen that in the TCG in a while. And then obviously Maxx C is the most, like, it's the most popular monster in the OCG. It has been for about a couple of years since like Ash Blossom got like limited or semi-limited, but I think that it is really interesting how the OCG is actually shaping up and how Salamangreats have hit the ground running. I mean, there's so many people that were telling me, this structure deck is trash. The only reason to buy it is Ash Blossom. And I'm like, well, who the fuck cares about Ash Blossom? There's a tier 1 deck in this structure deck. Don't you get it? I mean, yes, for budget players out there, I get it. This might be your only way to get an Ash Blossom, but you can't tell me that, like, the only reason to buy a structure deck is, you know, an Ash Blossom when there's a tier 1 deck. But I believe that a lot of people still did not believe in this deck, and I think that this is obviously, you know, this is a level of proof. And again, I believe this deck is going to be significantly better in the TCG because it won't have to deal with this card. I don't think, even if Sky Strikers don't get hit on the ban list, like, that won't matter. That matchup is so fucking free, to be honest. Altergeist, it'd be a little difficult if you go second, but Sky Striker don't beat Salamangreats, to be honest. So whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Do you still not believe in Salamangreats if you didn't before? Do you still think they are a crappy anime deck? Despite the fact that Jerome McKell said many months ago, Konami has now tried to make every single anime deck basically meta. And outside of Rockets, they've basically succeeded. I mean, maybe not Cybers, but, you know, definitely with Salamangreats, with Trickstar, with Goki, and with Altergeist, they all were meta. Or at least Salamangreats will be meta. Just February 15th, I believe. Either 15th or I think February 15th, that's when Soul Burner's coming out, and I promise you guys, this is going to be a meta deck. Maybe not the best deck in the meta, but it will be a top 5 deck 100%, and if it gets too out of control, even though I like to think that in the TCG I basically invented this deck, I will teach you guys how to beat this deck. We won't spoil that until a little later, though. Anyways, whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.